Akame ga Kill, episode 23, will be probably one of the most controversial episodes of the entire series, especially because it's just so hard not to want to compare it to the manga version, because especially at this point, they're just so drastically different. And let me just get this out there, massive spoiler alert, and I really shouldn't have to say this is my review, but Tatsumi dies in this week's episode. The main character of Akame ga Kill is killed in this week's absolutely ridiculous thrill ride fun episode of Akame ga Kill. Now, it wasn't a perfect episode. The story is just sort of all over the place and ridiculous, and it basically just amounts to a big night raid assault on the capital and taking on Honest in this big, massive Pope robot, which can basically destroy the landscape with one massive beam blast. And it's just a lot of fun. It's simple as that. This week's episode is fun. It's just non-stop action. There's even Leone fighting against Run of the Jaegers, which is really cool. And what's really surprising about this episode really is just how it ends. And it's all about Tatsumi and Wave teaming up and fighting against this massive robot, and the Emperor who's inside, who apparently was taking his batshit fucking crazy pills this morning, because he was insane in this episode. He had a completely different character in this episode, and a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that the Minister Honest, has been sort of like pulling the strings behind the scenes, but man, he just went like full-on nuts this week, and just, it was really impressive. Just, it's ridiculous, you know? It's a big freaking robot fighting against Wave and Tatsumi, but if you just like sit back, relax, and accept it for what it is, it's still a lot of fun, and it just looks really cool. And this week's episode happened to have some pretty good animation and some really good artwork, especially at the end of the episode. But what's really cool is just like how they're fighting him and how they're getting like blown through buildings and all of the landscape is getting destroyed. And it's very disturbing. I'm not really sure what his whole plan is when it comes to just like destroying everything randomly. You know, obviously, the Emperor's a friggin' moron. I can't believe he's even doing this, but what's really crazy about this is the way Tatsumi finishes the battle, because there's this little twist where apparently the Incursio armor goes through this like evolution process and it changes, and it turns into this like winged golden form, which honestly looks really cool. And it's because he was talking to Bulot in the weird sort of like, you know, limbo world. I'm not really sure what it is. It's symbolic and it's ridiculous and it's an anime cliche, but it leads to a really great and impressive action scene where Tatsumi basically just plows right through the robot and manages to finish him off. And as it's about to fall down on all of the townspeople, he actually gets right in front of it and stops it. And the force of it is so ridiculous that it ends up just destroying his body, blood exploding from his armor, and he dies right there on the spot as Akame holds him and just screams that he promised her that he would not die. And, you know, as cheesy as ridiculous as that scene is, it actually got me really misty-eyed, and it actually kind of made me appreciate the anime series Akame ga Kill a little bit more, despite the fact that it is kind of a bummer that's deviated from the manga material. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I do believe next week's episode will be the final episode of the series, and the preview is basically giving it all away. It's gonna be Esdeath versus Akame, and frankly, I think that's fitting. They're the two leading ladies of the series, and it just... I'm shocked that Tatsumi, who's the main character, is sort of been replaced by Akame, which is fitting because her name technically is in the title of the series, despite the fact that she's kind of like the main female protagonist. But I don't know, it's strange. It's still affecting me like on a weird level that they decided to do this, and it's just so abrupt, and I didn't expect it. I didn't think it was going to happen, at least not before the final episode of the series. I might have been able to, you know, maybe allow myself to enjoy this a little bit more if it happened like that, but no, that's not the case. You just gotta roll with the punches on this one, and if anything, I was entertained by this episode. It was ridiculous. It was two guys in badass armor fighting against a giant robot. It was animated really well. Lasers, explosions, punches to the face. This was pretty impressive. Not to mention that scene where Leone was literally punching pillars, picking them up, and throwing them around like a log trying to kill Run. And it almost seems by the end of the episode that they have like a good relationship with each other, almost like a friendly rivalry. And honestly, they might make a pretty good blonde couple. But who knows? We're going to have to see how the series is going to end in the anime version in just 1 week from now. Like I said, I think it's the final episode. It looks like it's going to be. I just don't know where they can go after this. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Akame ga Kill? It was ridiculous. This was Akame ga Kill on crack. Anime crack. Old school, ridiculous, nonsensical anime crack. And I really liked it. You know, at first I thought the episode was going to just completely suck, but the minute they got to the Capital Army and just started, like, fighting against all of them, and Leone got involved, and then you saw that robot for the first time, it looked really cool. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the thing actually has a giant cape, but what's really cool is the robot itself is kind of like the ultimate Imperial arms, even though Tatsumi is able to take it out with his Incursio armor, which goes into, I'm just going to call it Super Saiyan Incursio mode, and it just looks really cool. You know, the wings are really the best thing about it. It gives him the ability to just fly around, and I really love the fact that both him and Wave actually got to team up. You know, it's clearly, again, it deviates from the manga, but, you know, just, they're two characters that are basically the same, and they work really well together, and it looks like Wave is alive. Like, he's fine. He was just knocked into a freaking building, and he's alright, but Tatsumi is the one who pretty much did all of the dirty work, and that final scene where he actually, like, powers up and everything, and you see, like, his cape floating in the wind, all the artwork there looks really nice, and in that final scene where he was stopping the massive Imperial Arms robot from smashing on everybody, it looks really good, and like I said, some people might actually, like, get misty-eyed at the scene where Akame finally, like, embraces him at the end. Some people might think it's overly cheesy. I really liked the scene. I thought it was really good. So, this was just a really entertaining, big-ass action episode, and you guys know that I'm a big action guy, so I actually did enjoy it. I can now actually say that I like the Akame ga Kill manga and anime versions. They're different from each other, but they can be enjoyed in different ways. You know, this is basically just a big, fun, dumb anime series, and if you want to be entertained and see some really cool shit, then check out this week's episode. That's all I can really say. It's just really entertaining stuff. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. It did have some minor flaws in the beginning of the episode, and it was a little slow at some times in the beginning, but once that big robot came out, shit got real. So check it out, guys. It's pretty damn good. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. And before you leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's ridiculous episode of Akame ga Kill. Did you think it was pretty badass, or are you still a little offended that it's not really following the manga material? Is there something you can appreciate about the anime version? Please tell me in the comments section below. And remember, guys, if you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here, and you can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.